Okay, welcome back to Algebra, everybody. This is Mr. Russell, of course. I'm at home, relaxing, trying to get better. Um, Thank you for some of you who've told Miss Brennan to tell me hello. So thank you for well wishes. Today we're going to start with Unit 5, which is inequalities. First section is 5-1, 1 and 2 step inequalities, day 1. There are going to be various times throughout the video where it's hard for me to judge since I'm not in class that whether or not you're caught up with the notes. So you're going to need to stop or pause the video in order for you to get all the notes down that I'm talking about. Now there's some negative things about this, most notably that you can't ask me questions, but don't forget you can always email me any questions you have. My email address is qrussell@whipsd.org. So you can email me any questions that you're having if you don't understand something, and I'll try to get back to you. The other thing is I'm going to get some answers for all of our U-tries and try to get answers for all the homeworks to you. Step-by-step solutions so that you can go over them. Okay? All right. So this is 5-1, 1 and 2 step inequalities, day 1. Let's start by thinking back about equations. What makes an equation an equation? Well, the first thing that we remember is that an equation has equa in it. And so if it's an equation, it means that it is equal to. So you have a variable equal to some number. Using that same philosophy, what makes an inequality an inequality? Well, it has to have a greater than or equal to, less than, or less than or equal to. Now today we're going to go past the normal inequalities that we've been doing, or that we did in the first chapter, and we're going to go into inequalities that involve variables. So if we look back, and this is some of the first stuff that we did with equations, what is the answer to x plus 4 equals 9? Well, the easiest way to solve this is to subtract 4 from both sides. Your 4's cancel out. You get x equals 5. Then if we look at the solution on a number line, if 0 is here, then we said that x is equal to 5. And so your solution on the number line would be a point at 5. That's anytime it's equal to it. As far as we know, an equation has one solution. So there's only one answer, which is why it's only one dot on the number line. An inequality has an infinite number of solutions. So there are literally endless solutions to the answer for an inequality. Today's objective, you'll be able to solve a 1 or 2 step inequality. Definitions. If you see just the caret that's pointing right, it means that it is greater than. You see the caret pointing right with the line under it, it's greater than or equal to. Caret pointing left is less than, and left with the line under it is less than or equal to. Pretty simple. You should all know those. So first, x plus 4 is greater than 9. This is a lot like our previous question, but our previous question had the equal sign. So some things you need to ask yourself. Is it solved? What is with the variable? How do you get rid of plus 4? Then you graph it. So first, is it solved? It's not solved because the x isn't by itself. Just like with equations, you have to get the x by itself. So what is with the variable? It's a plus 4. How do we get rid of a plus 4? We subtract 4 from both sides. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you do to the other side. You can draw your line in there to show that this is where it crosses over. This gives you x is greater than 5. So all we did was subtract 4 from both sides. You get x is greater than 5. Now we can graph that. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then it's going to be greater than 5, so we're going to have an open dot here. Now the reason that it's an open dot is because there's no equal sign under the inequality. If there's an equal sign under the inequality, then that makes it a closed dot. But then it's greater than 5, so it's every number that is bigger than 5. This solution means that any number that we plug in that's greater than 5, so say we choose 7. If we plug 7 into the equation, that means x plus 7 is going to be greater than 9. That's not what it means at all. Sorry. It's going to be 7 plus 4 is greater than 9. So that would give you 11 is greater than 9. So that's what the solutions mean. We can plug the number in for x and end up with the same thing. Example 2. If we follow the same guidelines as before, 2x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 9. So first, is the inequality solved? No, it's not solved because x is not by itself. So what is with the variable? Well, we have a 2 times the variable and a plus 5. So to solve this, just like with regular equations, you would subtract the 5 first. Remember, subtract 5 from both sides. That gives you 2x is greater than or equal to 4. Then you divide by 2, because division is opposite of multiplication. So it gives you x is greater than or equal to 2. So what do we get rid of first? Have to get rid of the 5 first. Then you divide by the 2, you get x is greater than or equal to 2. Start with 0, 1, 2. Then, since it's greater than or equal to 2, you have a colored in dot, and it's greater than or equal to, so you shade to the right. What does the solution mean? It means every value that's greater than or equal to 2 works for this inequality. So we can always check our answer by plugging in. If we plug the number 3 in, x equals 3, then 2 times 3 plus 5 should be greater than or equal to 9. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 5 That gives you 11, and 11 is greater than or equal to 9. So it works. Now, if we have just a regular equation, 6 equals 6, what happens when you multiply or divide both sides of the equation by 3? So if we multiplied both sides of the equation by 3, that would give you 18 equals 18. If we divided both sides of the equation by 3, that would give you 2 equals 2. Pretty straightforward. But what happens when you multiply both sides of the equation by negative 3? 6 times negative 3 gives you negative 18. And then it's going to be the same thing on the other side. If we divide, it does the same thing. It's negative 2 equals negative 2. So for equations, we've never had to really worry about what happens when we're multiplying or dividing by a negative number. Inequalities are going to be a little different for us. What happens changes. So if we take this, which is just a simple numeric inequality, and it's 6 is greater than 3. Now that is true. What happens when you multiply or divide both sides of the equation by 3? It's going to be very similar to the regular equations. 6 times 3 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9. 18 is greater than 9. That is true. If we divide by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 is greater than 1. This is also true. Let's look at negatives now. What happens when we multiply or divide both sides by a negative 3? Well, if you do 6 divided by negative 3, that gives you negative 2. Now, if we leave the sign exactly the same, then it'd be negative 2 is greater than 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. Is negative 2 greater than negative 1? That answer would be no. Let's see what happens whenever we multiply. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. Negative 18 is greater than negative 9. That is also not true. So this produces a falsehood. Now, we're going to learn a rule here that will make it all okay. If we multiply or divide by a negative number, all you have to do is flip the inequality. So we divided by the negative number. So if we flip the inequality so that instead of greater than, it's less than, it makes it true. Negative 2 is less than negative 1. Same thing over here. If we flip the inequality, negative 18, flip that. This is true. Negative 18 is less than negative 9. So because when we flip the inequality, it makes it true, that's going to be our new rule for inequalities. Now let's take that and apply it to a more useful problem. We start with negative 4y minus 8 is greater than 8. First, is the inequality solved? No, the variable is not by itself. What is with the variable? Negative 4 times the variable, and then it's a minus 8. What do we get rid of first? We're going to add the 8 over. Those cancel. Remember, it's got to be on opposite sides. So you get negative 4y is greater than 16. Then we divide by a -4. When you divide by the -4, those cancel. You get y. Remember to flip your inequality because you're dividing by a negative is less than -4. Now you just graph it on the number line. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's going to be y is less than -4. So we have to draw an open dot here because it's just less than. You're going to shade to the left. And that's it. Example 4. Now here you have x over 3, which is, remember, that it just becomes x divided by 3 plus 2 is greater than -4. Is our inequality solved? No. It's not solved because we don't have x by itself. And so we have all this with the x. So it would be no. What is with the variable? It's divided by 3 and plus 2. I don't know why we're at d when it's 3. It's divided by 3 and plus 2. So what do you get rid of first? Subtract the 2 from both sides. That gives you x over 3 is greater than -6. -4 minus 2 is -6. Then to get rid of the 3, remember it's x divided by 3, then you multiply by 3 on both sides of the inequality. Now here we have a -6 times 3, but we're not multiplying everything by a negative. We're just multiplying this side by a +3 and this side by a +3. So you don't flip your sign. It remains greater than. So it's x is greater than -18. And we're going to have a lot of answers like this where it is a big number. So now I will show you the little cheat on this. When we graph it, make sure you always put a 0 in. And then you can just write in -18 on the left side of 0. If you write in -18 over here, then it's going to be a problem. And it's an open circle because it's just greater than, and shade to the right. Here are your you-try questions. So again, you can stop the video here, do the you-tries, and then we'll proceed with the video, and I'll have all the answers for you. Okay, so let's try to solve these out now. First, is it solved? No, the x isn't by itself. So we start by adding 6 to both sides. It gives you 2x is less than or equal to 14. Next, we do 2x divided by 2 to get rid of this 2, because it's 2 times x. Divided by 2, you get x is less than or equal to 7. Now we have to draw that graph on a number line. There's 0, there's 7. It's less than or equal to, which means you dotted, with your dot you color it in, and then you shade to the left. Number 2. X is not by itself, so we have to solve. It's minus 7 first, so let's add 7 to both sides. That gives you negative 3x, so just cancel, is greater than 21. Now we divide by negative 3. 21 divided by negative 3, that gives you negative 7. Now remember, we divided by a negative, so you have to flip the sign. So it becomes x is less than negative 7. Now we graph that on a number line. 0, negative 7. It's less than, no equal sign under it, so it's an open dot, and you shade to the left. Number 3, it's x over 2 plus 3 is greater than negative 2. Draw your line. Start by subtracting 3. That gives you x over 2 is greater than negative 5. Because you're dividing by 2, you multiply both sides by 2. That gives you x is greater than negative 10. Draw your number line, put negative 10 in. It looks like negative 16, but we'll work with it. It's greater than, so it's an open dot, and you shade to the right. Number 4, start by subtracting 4. That gives you x over negative 3 is less than 2 minus 4 is negative 2. Multiply both sides by negative 3. Those cancel. Now you multiplied by a negative, which tells you the sign flips, becomes greater than. Then negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6. On your number line, 0, positive 6. It's greater than 6, so it's an open circle and shade to the right, where all the numbers greater than 6 would be. Number 5. 2x minus 4 is greater than negative 12. Start by adding 4 to both sides. That gives you 2x is greater than negative 8. Divide by 2. X is greater than negative 4. Now we divided by 2. It was a positive number that we divided by. So we don't have to flip this sign. Just one of the common mistakes I see people make. Start with 0. Go back to negative 4. It's greater than, so it's an open circle and shaded to the right. Number 6. Multiply by 4 first. Draw a line in. Multiply by 4 first because this is all being divided by 4. Those cancel. Get 3x minus 4 is less than or equal to negative 40. Add 4 to both sides. You get 3x is less than or equal to negative 36. Divide by 3. Get x is less than or equal to negative 12. Draw your number line. 0 in, negative 12 in. It's going to be a closed circle because it's a less than or equal to. And then you shade to the left. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. Remember, my email address is qrussell@quipsd.org. You'll have your homework assignment given to you. I miss you guys.